Thanks, Chris. Today's best practices revolves around MRI. Did you know it was originally known as NMR or nuclear magnetic resonance? They dropped the nuclear for obvious marketing purposes. Occasionally, I'll still see that reference on drawings, but you can trust it is, in fact, an MRI suite. The first suite was providing imaging in 1980, and here we are 41 years later. It's still an extremely valuable tool in healthcare. Curlin's medical expertise is providing solutions throughout the entire hospital, from general public spaces to the operating rooms, cath labs, intensive care departments, patient rooms, MRI, and behavioral health. Curlin has exactly what you need for a successful, sustainable design. For today's best practices, we take a look at one of the more challenging areas of the hospital, the MRI suite. These suites don't have to be a challenge. Every MRI room can and should be a successful project, one that's artifact and image free with Curlin, smart LED MRI systems. What is MRI? Well, of course, it stands for magnetic resonance imaging. Break a bone, you'll be getting an X-ray. Have a torn ligament, tumor, cyst, or herniated disc, just to name a few, you'll be getting an MRI. MRI scans produce images of soft tissue within our body. Magnetic resonance imaging can be done quite easily today, from standalone imaging centers in your area to dedicated MRI suites within the hospital. And today, we see a marrying of operating room and imaging within hybrid and intraoperative ORs. First, it aids physicians in identifying and treating illness. Secondly, MRI is often insurance justification for the future procedure that needs to be done. And third, litigation protection for the physicians after that procedure. How does MRI work? The circular tube houses a superconductive magnet that produces a strong magnetic field. This field aligns the body's hydrogen atoms. Some are not affected by this field, and an RF pulse is then used to manipulate the non-conforming atoms. The RF is cycled on, then off, and the detectable release of energy by these atoms is recorded, and images are created by a computer. Because we have billions and billions of these hydrogen atoms within our bodies, there are plenty to accomplish this feat. The sensitive RF pulse created and recorded in the MRI suite requires protection from any outside interference. This is why an MRI room is a room within a metal enclosure. All 6 sides of the suite, ceiling, walls, and floor, are enclosed by a metal shield, which is taken to a dedicated earth ground and thus blocks any radio frequency or electromagnetic interference from the suite. Any opening in this metal shield must be filtered to eliminate the potential for disruption. Openings can include windows, doors, and even an electrical circuit, which makes a great antenna for bringing that RFI or EMI into the room. Your key requirements for your design include, first, only bringing DC or direct current into an MRI suite. AC power is inherently a low frequency RF signal. Secondly, all equipment and construction materials within the room must be non-ferromagnetic, meaning they cannot contain iron. And third, any openings in your shield must be properly RF filtered. It is the filtering that is critical and the component to most likely cause problems on your project. Why? Filters come in a vast variety of protection levels, voltage capacity, and amperage ratings. Most filters are manufactured outside the US. They are subject to long lead times. Quality is also an issue. Traditionally, filters have been provided for the MRI suite by the shielding contractor. Oftentimes, if out of stock, the contractor will supply and install what they happen to have on hand, and then the problems begin, which become your problems. What happens when an item containing iron is introduced to the MRI suite? Well, you Google MRI disasters for some great video on your lunch hour. Here, a standard patient bed was wheeled into the MRI, and it, just like anything containing iron, will head directly for the center bore of the machine. You cannot remove this bed. The only way to get it off the machine is to stop the ever-present magnetic field, and the only way to stop the field is to quench the machine, a process of introducing oxygen to the liquid helium used to cool the conductive coils inside the machine. MRI machines are available from a variety of manufacturers: GE, Philips, Siemens, Toshiba, Hitachi, and Varian, to name a few. We have successfully supplied Curlin Smart LED MRI systems with all of these manufacturers many times over. Most common throughout the 80s and early 2000s, 1.5 Tesla machines were commonplace. A 1.5 Tesla machine is 45,000 times the strength of the Earth's magnetic field, so quite powerful. They go for about $1.5 million. The trend today is for better imaging, so most common these days are 3 Tesla machines. Think of them like high def for television. They cost about $2.3 million. You can plan on spending about $500,000 on the rest of the suite's construction. I know it's a lot of money, but your client understands that, and remember, MRIs are big money makers for the hospital. A new trend is 7 Tesla machines. Ultra high definition images are produced with 7T. The higher the Tesla, the more sensitive to disruptive electrical noise these machines can be. So please do not use any first time 7 Tesla lighting systems in a 7 Tesla room. Curlin has successfully provided over a dozen 7 Tesla suites with nothing but success. And now let's go over to Richard Lund for a more in-depth look.
Thank you, Chad, and good morning, everyone. So every MRI lighting system requires 3 primary components: the lighting fixtures, which of course are mounted inside of the MRI space; remote power supplies or drivers that are typically located in the mechanical equipment room directly adjacent to the MRI suite; and the EMI RFI filters, which are mounted to the copper shielded wall. Curlin's Smart LED MRI lighting system is a turnkey family of luminaires, drivers, filters, and emergency power, all engineered to work seamlessly together and trusted by leading healthcare facilities around the world. The first step in lighting an MRI suite is selecting luminaires that fulfill all 3 core principles of lighting in healthcare. Now, this typical MRI suite shows the IES recommended foot candle levels for the main lighting zones in the MRI space. The question that always gets asked is, why so much light on the patient transfer table? Well, for one thing, there needs to be sufficient light for the MRI nurse to administer an IV. And second, there needs to be sufficient light in case the patient has trauma during the MRI procedure, such as a seizure or a panic attack, or even worse, a heart attack, and needs to be quickly removed from the MRI machine and attended to. Curlin is proud to offer the largest selection of MRI lighting fixtures in the industry, with 27 specific models, each designed and manufactured with all aluminum, non-ferrous components, safe for use in any MRI environment. This includes 2 families of recessed downlights, as well as a 2x2 scenic and white panel, decorative sconces, and a specialty shallow surface-mounted cylinder, all with a 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. Our downlights are the real workhorses in the MRI space. These are available in both 1500 and 2500 nominal lumens. They include standard 4 and 6-inch round and square, as well as our IP-rated 7 and 8-inch units for those hybrid OR applications. Now, 4 and 6-inch adjustable fixtures mounted on either side of the patient transfer table are used for increasing light levels to the IES recommended foot candle. Also, wall wash fixtures add an aesthetic by increasing light levels on the wall, creating a feeling of openness, which in turn makes the patient feel more comfortable. Specialty fixtures, such as our shallow surface cylinder, our 2x2 white panel, and sconces, are often used when standard recessed downlights are either not desirable or they need a little added design element. And finally, our family of 2x2 scenic panels creates a sense of positive distraction for the patient by providing a calming scene or skylight effect thereby keeping their mind off of the procedure. Our extremely high resolution images and unique 1.5-inch beveled mullion frame truly gives the impression of a window to another world. Having over 30 years of experience in lighting MRIs has given us a unique ability to see what poor lighting in an MRI suite looks like. First, as you can see in the photo on the left, track lighting with fixtures suspended down into the MRI space does nothing to improve the lighting design, nor does it add any comfort to the patient. And finally, they just look bad. And on the right side is a photo of an MRI suite where they designed the lighting with increased light levels on the patient transfer table, but instead of adjustable fixtures mounted off to the sides, they just mounted a high output downlight directly over the patient, which would be extremely annoying for anyone laying on the table and looking straight up into that fixture. Now, here is an MRI suite that uses proper lighting fixtures to enhance visual acuity, to improve patient comfort, and to create a safer environment. We have recessed downlights providing the 30+ foot candles of ambient perimeter lighting, along with recessed adjustables mounted on both sides of the patient transfer table, providing the IES recommended 100+ foot candle levels. And finally, a beautiful array of scenic panels, creating a calming sense of distraction for the patient. And now I'd like to turn it over to Scott to show us how the smart MRI lighting system is put together.
Thank you, Richard. In this ideal suite that Richard described, we now need to pair these lights with the proper power supply. Curlin offers two separate drivers called our Smart LED driver. The DVR 1400 is used with our 1500 and 2500 lumen downlights and with our decorative sconces. The DVR 0700 is used with the scenic and white panels. The form factor of these two modules is identical, and they both mount into our new Smart LED MRI driver cabinet. This allows you to mix and match modules as needed for a particular fixture design. Both driver modules offer 0 to 10 volt dimming from a range of 100% down to 0.4%, and they carry a 5-year warranty. This system is modular by design. You can add the amount of channels you need by adding driver modules. For example, each module can run up to 2 1500 lumen fixtures, and there can be up to 8 modules in each cabinet. This gives us 16 1500 lumen fixtures powered by one fully loaded cabinet. Completing that example, each driver module can power one 2500 lumen fixture. So with 8 modules in the cabinet, a single fully loaded cabinet can power 8 2500 lumen fixtures. Here are 2 visual examples showing the flexibility of what the new system can provide. On the left, showing a very simple application using 6 1500 lumen downlights. Because each of these modules can power up to 2 of these downlights, we only need 3 DVR 1400 modules within the cabinet to completely power this room. In the example on the right, we show how you can mix and match modules and fixtures to create a more complicated design. Next, we have our smart LED filters. These filters allow lighting power to be delivered into the suite by filtering out any RFI or EMI from the electrical circuits that enter the suite. They provide 100 decibels of protection and are designed to handle either 3 or 4 circuits per filter. This allows you to pair the number of channels in the filters with the proper number of driver modules used for each installation. Unlike the other components we talked about, this filter gets mounted directly to the MRI shield. Because it is small and lightweight, it can be mounted virtually anywhere on the shield. And here again, carries the 5-year Curlin warranty. Lastly, Curlin offers 2 emergency power inverters. Not every hospital has a generator, and many times if they do, that load is often at a premium. By offloading power from the generator, these mini inverters offer a great value option and can provide 100% illumination for over 3 hours. Not only can you use these in the MRI suite, but also in more critical areas around the hospital, such as the hybrid OR and intraoperative rooms. So why do so many top healthcare institutions trust Kirlin's smart LED MRI lighting system for their MRI suites? We are the #1 turnkey MRI lighting system, which means we've designed all of the components: luminaires, the remote power supply, RFI filters, and the emergency power to all work seamlessly together. So our customers can rest assured that the lighting will function properly and will not impact any of the scans that take place in the MRI suite. Secondly, we've redesigned the system to provide the best value. We've completely re-engineered the remote driver modules so that we only give you what you need on any MRI project. Third, selection. Kirlin offers the broadest selection of MRI-compatible LED fixtures in the industry. And lastly, our expertise. With over 1,000 MRI projects installed worldwide, we partnered with some of the largest names in healthcare. Chris will show a few project examples that we've been involved with. Chris?
Thanks, Scott. I have 3 quick examples for everyone that demonstrate just a few ways to illuminate your next MRI suite. The first is from CareMount in upstate New York. This is an MRI suite in an ambulatory care center, a relatively small facility that features a number of imaging rooms. We're seeing more and more of these facilities crop up all around the US and Canada, either as part of larger care networks like the Cleveland Clinic, or in this case, CareMount Medical, or imaging clinics that are operated by independent nationwide or regional organizations that specialize only in imaging clinics. Here you can see our scenic panels in action directly overhead, providing a window to another world, as Richard so eloquently put it. Or in this case, a window to the bright blue sky. And around the perimeter of this room, we're featuring 10 1500 lumen downlights with a clear specular finish. All are dimmable, the graphic panel as well as the downlights, to create a variety of scenes. We'd expect the downlights at least to be dimmed down during the actual MRI scan, and probably the scenic array as well. And just down the Hudson River from that first example, you'll find our second example, the New York Presbyterian David Koch Center, an impressive new tower in New York City that features Kirlin products very prominently. If you've been to these best practices sessions before, you may have seen some of the operating rooms and the hybrid ORs at this facility. And actually, one of those hybrid ORs features an MRI scanner and our smart LED MRI lighting system. But for our returning fans, we didn't want to show the same installation twice, so here's a look at a standard MRI suite from the David Koch Center, which features 14 of our MRR 06420 2500 lumen 6-inch downlights. And these were selected with Kirlin's Softex semi-specular finish, a more diffuse texture than the clear specular you saw a minute ago. And here, if you look closely, you can see that the central axis of the patient transfer table follows this line here in the ceiling grid, which means unlike the what not to do that Richard showed you, we have no downlights directly over the patient's eyes, which is an easy thing to do and a big plus for the patient. This example requires 1 driver module per fixture, since they're 2500 lumen fixtures, which means 14 DVR 1400A modules spread across 2 cabinets. And we could provide 14 channels through the RF filters by using 2 of the 4-channel filters, RFI 4100D, and 2 of the 3-channel filters, RFI 3100D. Sometimes we'll be working on projects where the idea of having some available capacity to add more luminaires in the future is attractive. So in cases like that, we might see 4 of the 4-channel filters ordered, which means we'd have 16 channels total, or 2 channels open, in case there was a desire to add, say, 4 wall sconces to this suite in the future. And speaking of wall sconces, here's our third example from VCU's Neuroscience, Orthopedic, and Wellness Center, featuring 6 of our round sconces with edge glow, alongside 6 of Kirlin's 4-inch 1500 lumen downlights around the perimeter. This is not my favorite placement of the sconces, they're quite high up on the wall, but I did want to show you all a few examples that include the recessed fixtures, the sconces, and the scenic panels, because together they form a very nice system in the MRI suite. And with that, I'd like to open up the floor for any questions.